Alright, well we start off this week, of course, with talking about Joseph, part 2, with Joseph getting bought by a man named Potiphar once he gets to Egypt. So Potiphar brings him in and eventually ends up putting Joseph over his entire house, to the point where Potiphar doesn't have anything to worry about with his house other than what he should eat. Okay, well, things are going great. Joseph's in charge of the house and everything, and he's basically the boss, runs the home, and things are looking up, And all of a sudden, Potiphar's wife solicits sex. Yes, the Bible says that Joseph was a pretty good-looking guy there, and she comes to him and is like, "Hey, sleep with me." Bible's words, not mine. Okay, the "hey" is mine. But she says, "Sleep with me." And Joseph turns it down. And it's kind of getting a little Desperate Housewives here. She continues. It says that she pesters him or bothers him daily, depending on what version you're reading. So could you imagine every single day the boss's wife is bugging you, "Have sex with me, sleep with me, come to my room, come to bed with me." And it's not like you're like a Target where it's like, "Lady, you're crazy, where are you even going to have sex?" It's like, no, it's like in his house, so it's like the bed's right there. Very awkward. Okay, so this kept going on for who knows how long.
Hey!
Oh, hey, it's you.
How have you been?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hey, I was wondering, you look like a big strong man, and I need a big strong man to help me move my dresser in my room.
I don't know if that'd be appropriate,
Oh, have you ever been to my room?
Yeah, I don't think your husband would like that so much.
Oh, it's beautiful. You have to see it.
I gotta go dust those bunnies over there. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Whoa, I'm sorry. I'll see you later.
Oh, hi, Joseph.
Hey.
How you been?
Fine.
You want to come up to my room? I just got some new sheets.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Okay.
I gotta get back to work here. And then one day, she sees her opportunity. For her and Joseph were the only two in the house. The rest of the servants and workers, I don't know if they had holiday or what. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I really need to get this counter space cleaned.
Oh, Joseph, my bedroom is empty. Would you come and join me, please? We will have a wonderful night.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Really?
No, I can't do that.
Well, why don't you tease me, Joseph? Come back!
But so they find themselves as the only two in the house, so she grabs him. She's getting, obviously, much more forthcoming. I don't know how else to say it. But basically, she grabs onto him and she says, "Sleep with me." Again, Bible's words, not mine. And, well, the Message translation. So some people don't count that. So after all this stuff that's going wrong, God is still blessing him. And Satan is obviously trying to mess it up. And so God's going to keep blessing him and making him, good at what he does. So Satan's like, okay, well, let's, have him create a moral failure. That'll mess up his plan, and God can't use him then. Or, I don't know what Satan's thinking was. I shouldn't even presume what he was thinking. But that's what he was thinking. And it doesn't work, because Joseph has character. And this is why character is such a big deal. And, nowadays it's made so light of. And cartoons and shows and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, what's the big deal? And stuff like that. And I know that's not a message that you guys are really preached to or taught very much about character. Everything's do what you want and have fun and, again, lighten up and stuff like that. But character is such a big deal. And this is one instance of it, to where he doesn't fall to it and he doesn't mess up God's plan for his life. So I just want to encourage you guys, make character a priority. Don't go along with what the crowd says just because that's what everyone else is doing. You know what you believe, know what's right, and stick up for it. Don't let peer pressure get you to do dumb things that you're going to regret later on in life. Okay, so after she grabs him and is literally trying to pull him into bed, he just bolts. He runs and gets out of there. Literally runs away from her. Not like, no, we can't, or, I gotta go. He just takes off. And to the point where he even left his jacket. So it's like if she grabbed onto him, he just pulls it off and takes off running to get out of there. Okay, I want to take a minute to talk about something here, because most of the time, you know, a lot of us, when we read these stories, we think of these guys as like super Christians. And we read about these crazy feats of faith that they do. And we're like, well, I could never do that. Well, of course, that's Moses, or that's Joseph, or that's, of course they did it, but they're from the Bible. Well, they're no different than us. They're in the Bible for these amazing things, but I mean, people do amazing things all the time who follow God. It wasn't something special about them back then. It's just that they followed God. Okay, so he's a young man. He starts off the story, he's like a teenager, a pretty young teenager, and by this point, it couldn't have been too long. You know, he's got to be in his early 20s, maybe mid-20s max, and so he's still very young. And again, this is the boss. The boss is probably, he's up there, he works for the Pharaoh. Chances are, you know, no matter how old he is, he's probably got a younger, more attractive wife. So this isn't like some old lady's like trying to get him to come to bed with her. Chances are, she was attractive, and that natural man in him probably wanted to have sex with her. Why else would he have ran away? I mean, all these other times, you know, he said no and he said no, and he knew, I have to get out of here. That's why he ran. I don't think he was worried about getting caught. No one was there. Why would he be running not to get caught? If no one's there, and in the past people have been there, and he's just talked her down, something tells me that she might have been starting to get to him. So don't think that, oh, well, yeah, I can't stand up against sexual temptation because, I mean, I can't. I mean, look at the way people are nowadays. And that was back then. I don't know. I've never heard this preached, but from what I'm reading into the fact that why else would he have ran if he wasn't being tempted by her, by this act? If it was something, you don't run away from something that's not a temptation. Like, I have no inclination to alcohol. I don't run away if someone goes to, like, hey, you want a drink? I'm just like, no thank you. You know, like, but if I was a recovering alcoholic or was tempted, I knew that I didn't want that, I would need to get out of there right away. So why am I talking about all this? Why am I bringing up this point that, you know, there's a good chance that, you know, he was wanting to sleep with her, or not even that he's wanting, but he was being tempted, is because I don't want you guys to read these stories and go, okay, but that doesn't apply to me because they were like perfect, they're super Christians. He's no different than any other young guy. He has hormones just like any other guy. He has to face temptations like any other guy. It's just the difference is, rather than indulging them and going with it because he knew he wouldn't get caught, he stood for what was right and he ran away from the temptation. So next time you're in that situation, whatever it may be, maybe it's a girl or a similar situation, or maybe it's something else, you know, whatever it may be, insert yourself into your own situation, run away. And you don't literally have to run away if it's not that kind of, but you know, whatever it is, if it's get away from whatever the source of temptation is. Don't sit there and continue to be tempted. And just, because eventually, I mean, I'm seeing from this pattern, it was getting to him, he had to physically get away. Same thing with you. Oh, I'll be fine, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. Next thing you know, you just failed. So get away from your temptation. Run. Fly. Swim. Go away. Okay, so after he runs away, obviously she's offended and upset. And when she looks out, she realizes he left his coat, and she's got it. She's like, she calls in, yells out, and calls in other servants and other workers of the house. And she makes up this crazy story about how he tried to have sex with her. And then when her husband gets home, tells the same story. So then Potiphar gets home and he is furious. Wouldn't you be? I know I'd be. So anyways, he gets mad and he throws, again, he works for the Pharaoh. He's like, I don't know. He does something. And he throws Joseph in prison with all the other Pharaoh's prisoners. Ouch. For something he didn't even do. So at this point, Joseph's got to be thinking, can I catch a break? Seriously? Okay, but once again, God gives him favor, and the head jailer puts Joseph in charge of the other prisoners. And it goes to the point where he ends up pretty much running the entire place. And the jailer doesn't even check on what Joseph's in charge of. And this seems to be the recurring story of Joseph's life. When people put him in charge of something, he's so trustworthy and faithful, they don't even have to check on him. It's not like, you know, your boss looking over your shoulder. They're like, Joseph's got it, it's fine, I don't have to worry about it. Now, I want to take a second and back up to what I talked about before, the whole character thing. Now, if Joseph had slept with her, and then got caught and thrown in prison, I don't believe that God would have blessed him here. I don't think he would have risen to the top again. And that's not to say he wouldn't have still gotten to the end of the story or whatever, but I think there at that point, when if he committed that kind of that sin there would have had to have been some sort of restoration. I don't know. I could be wrong. But maybe he wouldn't have even gotten to that position. Maybe it would have screwed up everything. But the point is, he wouldn't have been thrown into prison and right away have had that anointing in his life to where God was blessing him again. It was because of his character and his integrity that he guarded, that no matter what happened to him, on the outside, the stuff that kept going wrong, he was still with God, right with God on the inside. So God kept being able to bless him no matter what the enemy kept throwing at him, and Satan kept throwing in his path to try to get him derailed from his eventual destiny to help save everyone. But that's for another episode. So let's get back to what we're talking about today. Oh yeah, and I was also supposed to say that God has a perfect plan for our lives and that we should trust him no matter what, even when things get hard. I forgot that part when I got carried away with the other stuff. I like it when things connect, and I got excited and forgot to say what I was supposed to say. Okay, now I kind of already said this, but I want to specifically mention the last verse there, verse 23, that says, because God was with him being Joseph, whatever he did, God made sure it worked for the best. So that is an amazing thing. I want that said about me. Like, whatever he did, it didn't matter if he was working at Blockbuster, which is kind of going out of business, but see, they wouldn't be going out of business. If Joseph was working for Blockbuster, they wouldn't be going out of business because anything he did would do well and they'd prosper. I mean, that would be, you know how easy it would be to get a job? Anyways, I'm making crazy stuff up. Again, I apologize, which that's kind of what half the show's about. But right now, I'm trying to be a little more serious. So because of that, hold on, let me just read my notes. Are you faithful in the little things so God can bless you with bigger things? So that's what I want to leave you with for this this episode, is being faithful with the little things so God can bless you with the big things. God's not going to give you some huge position of authority if you're not taking care of the small things that you're already in charge of. So God, you don't need an example. You know what I'm talking about. You guys are smart people. I'll see you guys next episode where we see what happens to Joseph. Psst, he gets out of jail.
Yes, Mother and I used to worry about you going steady. Still do some. But you're older now. Mother and I think that you're better able to cope with the problems that go with going steady.
Yes. You've played the field for 2 or 3 years, Jeff. Now you begin to settle on one girl, to date her rather steadily for a while.